Let you.
Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Jacob in Wisconsin. We got Emilio in Tennessee. Here to talk some Green Bay Packers on this glorious May the 7th. I got in here a few minutes early, looked in the chat, and Jerry said, they going live tomorrow? So this knucklehead had the wrong day in. Surprise, right? That's a big shocker. But
so it wasn't there. I went to log in earlier and it wasn't there. I was like, okay, maybe I didn't refresh the computer. I gave it 5 minutes and there it popped up. So good deal.
Yeah, no, I screwed it up as always, man. I never know what day of the week it is. Like Jacob, man, when you put in all those hours at the office, Jacob, you don't know what day it is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just know because of the different breakfast and lunch specials. I kind of got to memorize. Hey, guys in the chat, do I look dark on screen?
Jacob, that is very insensitive to say.
Yeah, come on, Jacob.
Emilio's giving me guff. He's saying I don't look good.
No, it's probably just because the sun's still up over there, right?
That's true. Yeah,
that could be it.
Angles. Gotcha. All right.
I see the work boot conversation going on in the chat.
I poured up already. Yep, just looking for a new pair. Just want to get input. That's all.
Yep. Tell you want to know what boots I use, Emilio?
You don't. That's exactly what I do.
Walmart Brahma. And let me give you the slogan that we've created for Brahma boots. They cost about $30 a pair. They'll last you 1 year.
Yeah, those things work.
Hey, this is what I always say. I say
it's a 1 year rental.
I say Brahma when you need boots. That's all I say.
No way.
They'll get you through, man. I'm telling you. And I wonder why I've got back problems, right?
Seriously.
Says Clayton out there mowing grass barefooted. That's
just
right.
about. I've been yelling at him. Dude wears open-toed Crocs out there when he's mowing. He's weedy and like unbelievable.
Flip-flops the whole night. Anyway, hopefully everybody had an awesome day, man. Let's get into some topics here. We got a good little show lined up. This first topic I thought was really interesting. Anybody who watches Wildy and Tausch, Wildy kind of dropped a little nugget on the show today, and it really took me off guard. We could play the sound bite, but it's almost 4 minutes long. So I'm going to just kind of read this article we put together, kind of referencing what Jason Wildy was talking about. And I wanted to play it we might play like a small section of it just to get Mark Tauscher's response to it. Matter of fact, let's do that. Let's kick it off with that instead. All right. So let me pull a screen grab up here. I'm used to Tim carrying this show. I can't. Oh, all right. Look at Emilio. Good stuff, man. I'm assuming that was Emilio.
Yeah, for sure.
This was on Wildy and Tausch earlier today. I'm going to play just probably the first minute. I want you to hear what Jason Wildy said. Then we'll dive into the article because it's kind of caught me off guard. I want to see if it caught you guys off guard. Here we go.
There are some rumblings that maybe he has not been at the offseason program. Now,
it's Elton Jenkins, by the way.
I don't know that for certain. He was not in
he
was not in the pictures that were posted, right?
Juicy.
We did not get a chance to ask Matt LaFleur. So I want to be very clear. I don't know about his attendance. Okay.
But it's juicy. You'd admit it's juicy.
If accurate, then it is definitely very juicy.
Okay.
But he's got 2 years left on his deal. They just paid Aaron Banks a crap ton of money. He plays for a team that he knows they don't like to give out third contracts. He's got 2 years left on his second contract.
Oh, listen to these breadcrumbs. I'm at the Picasserie, and there's breadcrumbs all on the floor. And they're leading to some real juicy.
All right, so I'll just leave it at that. That was on the Wildy and Tausch page over there on X. So make sure you guys go check that out and listen to the whole 3-minute clip. I heard that, and I was like, what the hell's going on out here? Right? It kind of caught me off guard a little bit. And again, I want to put emphasis on what Wildy put emphasis on, that he doesn't know for sure. All he knows for sure is that no one has confirmed that Elton Jenkins was at the offseason program. All right. So we put a little article together here. and I'll try to get through it kind of quick. Elgton Jenkins' absence from Packers' offseason program raises questions about the contract future. Green Bay Packers two-time Pro Bowl offensive lineman Elgton Jenkins has been a cornerstone for the team's offensive line since being drafted in the second round of 2019. However, recent reports from ESPN Wisconsin's Jason Wilde suggest that Jenkins may not have attended, and I want to emphasize may not have attended, okay, any of the Packers' voluntary offseason program activities, sparking speculation about his future with the team, coupled with his reported transition from left guard to center for the 2025 season. All right. Went on to say on April 28th, Matt Schnaubman of The Athletic reported that Jenkins was not spotted in team photographer Evan Siegel's 154-picture gallery from the first day of the Packers' voluntary workouts. Other notable players, including Jair Alexander, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and Matt Orzing, were also absent from the gallery. But Jenkins' absence drew particular attention due to his leadership role in recent positional shift. Wilde, on his May 7th, 2025 episode of Wilde and Tausch, emphasized that he has, quote, no proof Jenkins attended any offseason activities, stating, quote, I do think this is something that we need to monitor. While voluntary workouts are not mandatory, the absence of a player of Jenkins' caliber raises eyebrows, especially given the timing and his contract situation. So obviously they're looking to move him to center. Let me get your all's initial thoughts on it. Again, it might be something he got excused. It might be something that this is not going to be a part of his 90% that he needs to attend in order to get a bonus that may or may not be there. We don't know all the details. But this did kind of pop up for me, like if you're going from left guard to center, right, and you're trying to get a third contract, they just spent a ton of money on Aaron Banks, right, and you drafted Anthony Belton. It does kind of raise a few questions. So I'll start with let's start with you, Jacob. What do you think, man? You think this is a big nothing burger, or is this kind of worry you a little bit?
Well, it's definitely a little unsettling for this time of year. And like you just said, we didn't all really pay attention to the fact that we made such moves, such critical moves on the offensive line, but thinking that we'd just have Elgton there as just a gimme. And now it's starting to look like, hey, man, maybe they were doing that because they knew something we didn't. What if Elgton, here's another what if, this is a big what if game here. What if he's not happy about moving to center? What if that's not something we all just assume that he's cool with moving from, at one point we threw him into tackle, now we threw him into guard, and then we're like, hey, we'll just give you center. H.E. Soder says voluntary is the key word here, which I believe he's talking about the workouts, but still it seems odd because, again, he's the type of a leadership type role, especially if you are going to be switching to being the kind of captain of that offensive line, being the center. You'd think you'd want to get out there and have as much chemistry, as many reps as you can. Brambo says wants that center money, but I disagree because that's the opposite of what's going on here. He's probably, and I believe I highlighted – it was Chris the Casual N said the same thing. He says you would think Jenkins would be happy, might be the highest paid center for the next 2 years. Even I think if you on the contract he's playing right now, I think other than maybe a few others that are the highest paid centers in the league right now. But all that to be said, who knows? It could be a big nothing burger, like J. Cole says. He says much to do about nothing. If he holds out of mandatory camp, then it's a different ball game.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, low key, I could care less right now that Ellen didn't show up. It's like a little snippet. It's a couple days, and then you're off, and then you're back on. And then you're off for the month. So, mandatory would be the key one that I'd be worried about him missing. And I get the wanting to make a good impression and moving to center and everything. But I'm sure he's already talked to Jay Love about it. I'm sure it's like even if he wasn't at the voluntary, he's probably already talked to half of his teammates, players, whatever it is. If he missed for a reason, good reason, bad reason, he's probably already let them know it, even though it just, he wasn't there in the pictures.
Definitely. As Prince points out, he has a $500,000 workout bonus, according to Spot Track, as you can see here on the screen, in terms of what he is, his cap hit. Let's just go off cap hit here because the remaining contract obviously becomes a little bit obsolete with guaranteed money already be kind of off the table. $17.6 million cap hit this year. Next year it jumps to 24.8, which of course there's only a dead cap amount of 4.8 attached next year, which means the Packers could free up $20 million in space if they just move on from him next year. So all that kind of comes into play. Now, I want to point out that when you see this offseason workout, yes, like Soder said, it's voluntary, right? which I do think it's hilarious that when Aaron Rodgers skipped voluntary stuff, he was the worst person on the face of the earth. But when other people do it, it's just voluntary, right?
Mhm.
That's not a shot at Soler. That's just kind of how a good portion of the fan base looked at Aaron Rodgers. Like if he's not allowed to miss anything, but if Job misses it, it's no big deal. It's just voluntary, right? He has with this $500,000 workout bonus, I believe Jair's was like a little over 90% participation in order to get that bonus. And that's something that was started with Ted Thompson back in the day. He would structure those bonuses because he knew guys didn't want to come back before training camp or before the mandatory mini camps. So they tried to give them an incentive to stay involved. So with that being said, is he going to skip out on that $500,000 bonus, right? And again, he may have been there and working out of camera sight. You know what I mean? That could have been the case too. And I thought Wildy done an excellent job of pointing that out as well. So it's just, I don't know, it kind of piqued my interest. Like I would expect him to be there. You know?
Right.
That's
So
just
the bonus does affect that 500, or I'm sorry, the voluntary would affect that $500,000 bonus. It's not just for mandatories.
That's what they said about Jair. I'm assuming that's how they structure all of those bonuses.
Gotcha.
Now, there's also a chance that maybe Elton's is different. You know,
Right.
I doubt it, but because I know that they put that workout bonus in to try to keep people drawn back to the facility.
But if he's going to get a reworked contract, does he need $500,000 right now? No, not if he's about to get paid. You know, not if he's about to be paid as a top 2 center, you know, in the league or whatever. He's about to make bread. He doesn't need the $500,000 right this second.
I still feel like though that him as a leader would almost feel obligated to be there.
And that's the
true.
thing, Jacob.
That's
To
true.
this point, it's felt like Elton's been a leader, right? So
Yeah.
this is why it's a little out of character for me. Like of
I
all the
agree.
people, if you'd have said a month ago, hey, pick a veteran that's not going to be there, he'd probably been last on my list.
Yep.
You know?
I wouldn't even thought about it.
Do you think it's any agent pushing him to do any of this or no? If it
And
were.
here's the thing, like when we're talking center money, all this stuff, when we signed Elton Jenkins, his number was a little inflated because you guys remember there was a chance that he was going to be playing left tackle at the time. Like they were talking about him playing left tackle, right tackle, moving around. So his agent's going to go, look, bub, if we're going to be playing tackle, we're not settling for guard money. So that number was a little high, right? Well, the same type of thing, if they're asking him to now switch positions from guard to center, right? I could see the agent being like, well, can we get a little bump in pay? I mean,
Right.
you're asking us to move around again type thing. I wouldn't put that past that agent for sure, you know. Lee in the chat says if he was upset, that would be the problem. What would be the problem? Moving him around. That's the thing too, right, Lee? We haven't heard anything from his camp. All we heard, if I remember correctly, it was Goody that stated he was going to be moving to center. I'm trying to think. I had it in here. The Packers confirmed earlier this offseason that Jenkins, who was primarily played left guard during his NFL career, will move to center for the 2025 season. This decision, reported by ESPN's Rob Domofsky on April 1st, 2025, aims to bolster the team's rushing attack, particularly for running back Josh Jacobs. Jenkins, who played center during his college career at Mississippi State, is seen as versatile lineman, capable of playing all 5 offensive line positions. Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst noted, quote, "We had plenty of conversations with Elton leading up to it, and obviously he played center in college. He's a luxury." So, yeah, I think it's safe to say that Goody's mentioned it and Rob Domofsky's reported on it, whether that came from the team side or Elton's side. I believe it's not going to be something that just kind of came out of nowhere. You know what I mean?
That next paragraph kind of dives into it, and I think this could be a little more of a indication as to why he might be a little upset.
Yeah, the move to center could enhance the Packers' offensive cohesion, given Jenkins' experience and athleticism. However, it also comes with financial implications. Centers are typically paid less than guards or tackles, and Jenkins' current contract with an average annual value of $17 million would rank him 4th among NFL centers. This positional shift could complicate future contract negotiations, potentially costing Jenkins earning potential in his next deal. Mike Wall talked about this last year when we were talking about potentially moving Elton Jenkins to center. He said Mike Wall was adamant about, why would Elton Jenkins take less money? That's crazy.
Right.
Why would you do that? You know, and when you go to center, you take less money. So just something, like I said, to kind of keep our eye on. For sure. Says contract situation, seeking security. Jenkins is under contract with the Packers through 2026 with a cap hit of 17.6 and 25. and a substantial increase to $24.8 million in 26. At age 30 in 26, Jenkins will be approaching the latter stages of his prime, making his next contract critical for long-term financial security. His current deal signed in December of 22 was a 4-year, $68 million extension, reflecting his value as one of the NFL's premier interior linemen. However, the rising salary cap and recent contracts for offensive linemen, such as Joe Thuney's trade to the Chicago Bears, which include a lucrative deal, may have Jenkins eyeing a restructure or extension to align his compensation with market. Wildy's comments on Wildy and Tausch suggest that Jenkins' absence could be a strategic move to signal his desire for a new contract. Quote, if we follow the breadcrumbs, are we finding something going on with Elgton Jenkins and the Packers this offseason? Wildy asked, hinting at potential tension. While there is no concrete evidence that Jenkins is holding out or formally requesting a new deal, his absence from voluntary workouts aligns with a common tactic used by players seeking to renegotiate. The Packers face cap count challenges in 26, with Jenkins' $24.8 million cap hit representing a significant portion of their projected salary cap. A restructured deal could lower his cap hit in 26 while providing Jenkins with guaranteed money up front. We talk about that all the time, cash over cap. When you look at the structure of his contract in 2026, $18.5 million is base salary with a signing bonus that's already been paid out of $4.8 million, a roster bonus of only $1 million. So what you could do is convert a good chunk of that base salary to signing bonus, write him a check that day, and lower that base salary, and kind of maybe you could shave $3 to $5 million off of it and give him more guaranteed money. That might make sense for both parties, to be honest with you. So I'm personally not panicking at this point, but I haven't heard anyone else talk about it other than Wildy today. So I thought, why not? Let's go ahead and get out in front of it just in case this is a thing. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
What do you think about Coach Lynn saying maybe he's upset about the bank signing? Goes on a little bit later to say, I'd be upset if they sign someone that much money that plays my spots.
Yep.
And then just assuming, hey, we're going to tuck Elgton, old tried and true Elgton. He'll just go with the program. You know what I mean? We'll kick him inside center, give him a pay cut. And I'm sure that Elgton wouldn't take too kindly to that.
I will say this, Coach, the only thing that makes me feel better about that situation and not concerned with what you're talking about there is the Goody comment, right? Goody noted we had plenty of conversations with Elgton leading up to it. So it's not like he's blindsided by it, right? But still, that doesn't change the fact that he might want a different contract for sure. So, given like Chris says here, exactly Mike Berry. So Mike Berry made a comment. Seasons are changing. Centers do have longevity generally. Chris Casual says exactly Mike Berry. Google Goot's third contract history and a picture of Satan top results. He does not play with those third contracts unless it's a kind of a generational talent. Tay got offered one. He turned it down after they lowballed him. He was even really, really hesitant to give Tay that offer. That's what pissed Devontae Adams off, right? Aaron obviously got one. David Bakhtiari got one. I can't think of anyone else.
Kenny
Clark, Kenny got one. You're right. So Kenny, there's 4. So that's 4 since Goody's been here, right? So 4 and since 2019. So 4 in what would that be? 5 years, 6 years now. So yeah, he's definitely hesitant on that for sure. We talked about the security implications for the Packers. Jenkins' potential dissatisfaction comes at a pivotal time for the Packers, who are coming off a competitive 2024 season playoff appearance. The team made significant offensive additions in the 2025 NFL Draft, selecting wide receiver Matthew Golden, Savion Williams, as well as offensive tackle Anthony Belton, who is also rumored to be competing for the right guard position as opposed to his natural left tackle spot. We're going to talk about that in a separate segment here a little bit later when we break down the offensive line, like the 5 things to watch for with the offensive line, because they keep talking about that on Wildy and Tausch, and that caught me off guard. I expected Anthony Belton to compete for left tackle, and it sounds like they may be letting Jordan Morgan compete for left tackle and then kick Anthony Belton inside to compete at right guard.
That would make sense. I mean, you think about coming into the NFL as a whole, Anthony Belton, you want him to go out there and try to learn. I mean, not that he needs to relearn left tackle, but at the NFL speed, at least Morgan's played at NFL speed for a year, knows the offense, knows the calls. If he misses a call, you'd want to also probably get the new kid closer to the center. That way we can make sure all our line calls. So we had a problem with that as well. We got to be able to protect. We got to be able to snap the ball in loud environments, and all that can play a factor.
Definitely. And as Chris the Casual Win said, terrible third contracts, all failures. You know, they failed to sign Devontae Adams because they lowballed him first, right? The third contract for David Bakhtiari obviously was injury riddled. That ended up being a complete failure. Kenny Clark, I think we would all agree, has not lived up to that pay. So yeah, I can't disagree with that, Chris. I cannot. So anything else you guys want to hit on there with the Elton Jenkins talk? Anything else?
No, I think we thoroughly investigated that situation.
All right. If you guys would hit that like and share, you possums in a dumpster, says some weird dude in the chat named Jacob. I don't know who that is. So anyway.
Good looking guy though. Just if I had to guess.
Let's move on to the next topic here. Jacob, you brung this one up earlier, and you had sent me over an article from, I think it was fantasylife.com. Some guys are going, whoa, Jacob, what are you doing on that website?
Which poll spins best? Oh, no. That's a different article.
That's a different article. You're right, sir. So the fact that you know the specific names of these polls is just just going to throw that out there. So Jacob thought it'd be a good idea. So you guys let us know in the chat how crappy of an idea this is, and we'll blame it on him. Now, I thought this was cool, man. As we, kind of just finished the whole draft process, you got all these undrafted free agents kind of settling into different places. I'd love to be able to cross-check some of these with our board, Emilio. I don't know if that's possible or not. We don't have to do it in rapid fire. But
it is. I think it's good to go.
All right, cool. And Jacob, we'll just kind of let you take the helm here. What I did, man, I said below are the NFC North 2025 undrafted free agent rankings according to fantasylife.com. Number 1 in the North is actually the Minnesota Vikings here. And I'm sure that's what you wanted to talk about, right?
Yeah, it's really, really great. To be honest, I thought it was interesting because you'll notice
there must be a delay.
You'll notice they have the ranking there next to the player, and that's, I believe, the consensus ranking. Logan Brown, you can see there the Vikings got a big-time steal, the 97 ranked player that they got as a UDFA. You guys remember we did highlight Logan Brown, tackle prospect, I believe, out of Kansas. I don't have it in front of me. Very surprised they were able to get him at the end of the draft, especially when I didn't think they did well in the draft. I thought they needed a tackle. They ended up being able to steal an absolute gem as a UDFA at the end of the draft. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, 285 on our board. Logan Brown out of Kansas went to Senior Bowl. Packers met with him. He was 22nd ranked last year in 24, but
let me just say
numbers on consensus and PFF.
So this makes me feel good because, again, the consensus you're saying had him 97th, right?
Yeah, our PFF had him 225 and consensus big board had him at 726.
Wow. Dang. So we actually finished, 285? Is that what you said, Emilio? So we kind of nailed that one, didn't we?
Yep. With a -5 RAS. 33rd had him 167, and Dane Brugler had him 128.
So our board expected him to go undrafted. Yep. Kind of cool. Awesome. So nonetheless, and it's not to say our board's right, but I just think that's kind of cool. I do think Logan Brown is one of the more appealing undrafted free agents for sure, though. Is there anybody else you want to hit on the Vikings list here, Jake? Anybody else kind of stick out to you, man?
Yeah, honestly, it's Tommy Hill. I know Tim was pretty high on him. Mm-hmm. He was a guy that played that kind of slot, sometimes a little bit even safety hybrid. He ranked pretty well on a lot of people's boards out of Nebraska, I believe. Where'd you have him at, Emilio?
228 on our board. Crushed in 23 with a 29 overall. PFF big board had him 165. Consensus had him 196.
Okay.
Gotcha. So we had him like 7th round grade, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, and again, that's a great pick for the Vikings because they needed a lot of help in the secondary, and they didn't address it, I didn't think, as well in the draft. And for them to, again, just luck into having Tommy Hill fall to them as a UDFA, that's pretty lucky. Tyler Batty was another one. I know. I thought Emilio. I thought you maybe liked him. I thought he was he the BYU guy?
Yep. BYU edge, East-West Shrine Bowl had him at 245. Crushed it in PFF. Throughout the years, pretty much 177 on their big board, 195 consensus.
Yep.
Okay. And once again, that's a position of need that they had, and for them just to kind of get a steal. I mean, they had a really great. I mean, even you can throw in. I like Joe Huber. That was the big offensive lineman from Wisconsin. I mean, heck, even Max Brosmer. hometown hero, quarterback for the Gophers. He gets to stay in Minnesota, and they all of a sudden now have a little bit of depth, and who knows, that could be their Brock Purdy type situation there.
Joe Huber is 207 on the board, guard, Wisconsin East-West Shrine, and Max Brosmer was 225.
Mm-hmm. And then honestly, both the tight ends, they're not the biggest names, but they graded out decently as being kind of all around types of tight ends, which they need that depth of that. Got their receiving tight end, obviously, but Bryson Nesbitt and both Benjamin Jurasek, I thought were really good pickups for them.
Benjamin 302 East-West Shrine, and I'm sorry, who's the other one? Nesbitt.
Yeah.
Nesbitt was 328. So I mean, right around there.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So there you go.
That was pretty much it for the Vikings. Just names that popped off the page there. But if you move on to obviously the Packers there, I think that I want
to point out, Jacob, the Minnesota Vikings, they ranked them first, right? Like they were the best in the entire NFL in their undrafted free agent signings. So next you got the Packers, right? They were 5th, is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Starting off with, I think it's Ryan's favorite UDFA, Nazir Stackhouse, from what I can tell from his pods lately. And honestly, it's pretty awesome that we were able to snag him. Again, a position of need. Maybe more of that TJ Slayton role filler than the 3-tech, but I think that he's talented enough to play quite a few different positions and techniques on that defensive line. A guy out of Georgia again. Hey, look at him. Pack Daddy's in the chat there. It's kind of interesting that we've got between Nazir and Wyatt and who's the other one? We got 3 Georgia Bulldogs right there on that defensive line. Yeah, Brinson. That's right. Mr. Warren.
Nazir Stackhouse was 213 on our board. Georgia East-West Shrine Bowl Packers met with him. PFF Big Board had him 255, consensus 144.
So timeout. Nazir Stackhouse was 188 on the consensus here, right? On whoever. I
think it's just ESPN consensus, if I'm not mistaken.
Perfect. So they had him ranked 188, basically saying, what would that have been, a 5th or a 6th rounder, right?
Yes.
Six.
And we had an undrafted grade on him on our board, right?
No, we had him at 213.
213, so he'd have been a 7th round grade, right? Good deal. So that's good value there, man, undrafted, according to our board and according to theirs too. So good stuff. All right, Jamin Dumas Johnson. Where do we have him? I know he's a Kentucky boy, but I think I was a little lower on him, although we did go ahead and bump him up to a 9 RAS. My man finished with an 8.99 there.
Yeah, 398.
Yeah, he was lower for sure. And that's a guy, Jacob, I think he transferred from Georgia, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Yeah. And I wasn't necessarily too excited with him just based on those PFF grades. And that's a block that I got to get over because I definitely put, I think, way too much stock into the PFF grades. But when you look at, like you said, the type of player he was, I think he was pretty highly recruited. Obviously, he goes to Georgia. No bad players go to Georgia. They look at that RIS score. It's at 8.99. Not the biggest guy in the world at just over 6 foot, 236. But there was definitely some highlights when you watch his game, some flashes. So it would be interesting. I'd definitely like to get him in the mix with guys like Hopper, Isaiah, the guy that we just brought over from the Giants. I can't remember his name, Simmons or whatever.
Yep,
so
Isaiah.
I think all you're doing with him is you're just completely making that floor an absolute, raising that floor quite a bit.
Yeah. Where do we have Tyler Cooper at, Emilio?
253 on our board. PFF Big Board had him 131. Consensus had him 229.
Got it.
Yeah. I really like that pick. I think I was higher on Cooper than some of the interior linemen that went a lot. Like I like Tyler Cooper better than the Donovan Jackson that the Vikes took with like their first overall pick. He was a Minnesota guy as well, so I thought the Vikings would bring him in for sure. Thought he graded out pretty well all around. Big Ten competition. I like his size, 6'5", 302. He's got the 8.46 RAS, and he's a Wisconsin native. So it's just nice to get him. And I believe him and JJ Lippe were both Wisconsin natives, if I remember correctly. So that's nice to get him back or get him. He could really be some do you think, I don't see any way of him really sneaking on the 53, but definitely making that practice squad and next year having a good shot at it.
Yeah, I think it's possible. And I want to mention this. Julian Fleming's on this list. I did get confirmation. We actually put a quick article together for everybody over on our Patreon group. If you guys want to join the Patreon group, scan the QR code in the upper right or go to patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access. So basically, here's what happened with Julian Fleming. We were asking last night, like, hey, what the heck's going on? So evidently he failed a physical, okay? It says the Green Bay Packers opted not to sign undrafted free agent wide receiver Julian Fleming after he failed a physical per Mark Malkoski, I think is how you say it, of the news some kind of website, the news item, I think it was. Fleming, a former Ohio State and Penn State standout, was expected to join the 2025 rookie class, but missed the team's rookie minicamp, raising health concerns. Pennsylvania native, Flemings was the number 1 recruit in 2020 from Southern Columbia, where he recorded 5,514 receiving yards and 77 touchdowns in high school. At Ohio State, his best season was 34 catches, 533 yards, 6 touchdowns, blah, 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 blah. Ex-post suggests hip and back injuries led to the Packers' decision. The team, which drafted receivers Matthew Golden and Savion Williams, released Tutu Griffin. Is it Tutu or Tulu? It's Tulu, right?
Tulu.
All right. Tulu Griffin to adjust their roster. Fleming's future is uncertain, but his pedigree could attract other NFL teams if he resolves the health issue. So just wanted to point that out, that Julian Fleming, the reason he all of a sudden disappeared after we got reports that he was being signed, Spot Track actually shows him with a 3-year contract and a 4th-year rights to the Packers. Evidently, it was back problems. So you can pretty much scratch him off the list there. I highly, highly doubt he'll resurface as a Packers, camp invite or anything. So, anything else on the Green Bay Packers you want to hear, Jake, before we move on to these nasty Chicago Bears?
Did you have anything on where Luke Gunderson ranked, or did you have a ranking on him at all? Just that
it doesn't sound familiar. Do we have him?
The name sounds familiar, but I think he was just very low. Usually,
not on the board.
Okay, it's interesting to take a look at him though. That 6 foot, almost 6'2", 240 at 9.29 RAS. I like those measurements. And then just Amar Johnson, I'm a little bit excited to see what he could do, running back out of South Dakota there.
Oh yeah, Amar, I did like Amar. He is 259 on our board. Packers met with him, running back South Dakota. No consensus, no PFF big board.
What about his PFF grade, Emilio? He graded out pretty good.
154 and 22, 187 and 23, 51 and 24. Hit a -3 RAS.
So he was in the 80s, Jacob. He graded out in the 80s last year. And I know
8 RAS.
His alma mater buddy there from South Dakota State, I believe, right, Tucker Kraft, he got really excited when they signed Amar Johnson. So I would really like the idea of Amar Johnson being on the practice squad. I think that's very exciting.
I don't know about you guys, but when was interesting looking at these 4 teams. I thought obviously the Vikings did really well. I thought the Packers did really well. And then you look at who the Bears and the Lions picked up here, and I don't recognize a name, I'll be honest. And I thought that I would for sure. But these are certain – I mean, can you scroll down there for the Bears?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, other than – yeah, I don't have any of these guys that I have. Major Burns is my that's my name on Sundays after I've worked a few too many days in a row. Who? It just I don't. Emilio, do you recognize any of these names?
Major Burns. No, we have a Major Williams on the board. Carson Newman, safety.
Major Burns sounds like a character off of In Living
That could be him.
93, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it does. Power. Let's see where we had Power.
But even if you look at like their rankings here, like ESPN, the top rated guy they had was a 324, followed by Tysheem Johnson at almost 500, and then the other guys, ESPN doesn't even have a ranking on them.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying they really went into that UDFA. They really did.
Well, seriously, bottom. That's Jacob. That's where you're shopping too, though. With clearance rack, all the yellow stickers.
Yo, this is the garbage behind the Marshalls. Okay, this is.
This is the dumpster behind Marshalls where you get stuff for $3.99. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Power Echoes, we had them 361 on our board. And then Tysheem, we had at 443.
Okay. Yeah, these all seem like reaches to me, Jacob. I'm with you, man. And that's not just because it's the Chicago Bears. These seem like horrible signings. Mm-hmm. Minnesota's look good. Like you can legit say, all right.
You understand what was going on. Same with the Packers. Can you scroll down to see the Lions here too? It's the same type situation. So I know Jackson Meeks, but they've got him as wide receiver 50, ranked 388th is according to ESPN. The next one is Gavin Holmes, cornerback that's the 62nd ranked quarterback, 450th, and then Caden Pricecorn. You guys know Caden Pricecorn, the tight end, ranked 465th. And after that, I don't recognize any of those names whatsoever. They're not ranked by ESPN anymore. So
Where do we have Jackson Meeks, Emilio? I'm trying to remember if we had him on the board. Jackson Meeks. This will be the last one I'll bother you with here, man.
No, you're good. I just was typing wrong. Meeks. We had him 292 out of Syracuse. His 24 grade was 44th. PFF Big Board had him 265.
Got it. All right. So again, there you go. That is your UDFAs from the NFC North. What are you coming away with, Jacob? Do you agree with the rankings here that Minnesota kind of finished first in the North and the Packers are second in the North, fifth overall?
I do. I just think it's an interesting thing to look at because everybody. I feel like you focus when you look at what a GM does and maybe how you would grade a GM in the offseason. You're going to first look at the draft, or maybe you look at the free agent signings. Either one of those two, I'll say hand in hand. But very rarely do you look at the UDFAs and the ability to even then shark guys off of the 53 or the original, some of the first cut downs and that sort of thing. I think that Goody and specifically the Packers organization has done so well, especially when you look at as of late guys like, Brenton Cox Jr., just saying. And we've actually brought talent from those UDFAs and gotten to see them get on the field and show production, which is pretty unique.
Pack Daddy got the joke while ago. I thought the same thing. I could see Damon Wayans playing, who was it again? What was the name? Major Burns. If you guys didn't grow up watching In Living Color, I don't know what you were doing.
Dude, Major Payne is such a good movie, man. I might have to watch that tonight. Major Benson Winifred Payne.
If he's still in there, he ain't happy. Such a good
put that in my repertoire.
My favorite, the 33rd.
I love how Clayton knows these movies, but he has no idea any other movies that we bring up. But he knows this.
I'll tell you, from 1990, really like 1988 to probably 1999ish, maybe 2000. I watched a lot of movies, and then I grew up. So
but you laughing at, pig boy? You find a piece of candy in your pocket?
No, I grew up and started flying around the world on Flight Simulator. Don't get your finger caught in the propeller. All right. Anything else, boys, on this topic here?
No, I Bears really did blow. I do think the Vikings had a super good, free agent class. I know we were talking about that after the pod last night. Just some of the guys that they were able to bring in. They were names that we were always filtering through, during the whole process. So it's like if you get anybody inside that top 250, I feel like you're doing pretty decent. But there also might be a reason that they didn't get picked, right? So a little bit of both.
Greg Rice in the chat says, "Can't believe no one here knows Major Burns was on MASH." My brother loved MASH. I never watched it, but I remember many a times walking his front door at his house and hearing that theme song for MASH. I can hear it in my head right now. So he loved the show MASH. So I think you're dating yourself there a little bit, Greg, is what it is, man. You're probably about the age my brother was. So, but you're born in the mid to late 60s would be my guess there. So anything else on that topic, fellas? We good?
We're good.
All right. We're going to get started on the next topic, and we'll probably go ahead and cut to hour 2 in the middle of it because we still got a few minutes left here. But I wanted to talk O-line a little bit because the whole Elton Jenkins thing kind of got me thinking a little bit because we were expecting him to shift to center. And then what if there is something? Look, Greg Rice nailed it. There it is, 1964. Got it. I knew it, man. All right. So offensive line talk. Jacob, how long do you get to hang around, man?
I got another 10 minutes or so.
All right, cool. You just cut out when you need to. All right. So I just put a little list together. I was thinking earlier today at work, I'm like, man, what are kind of the topics around offensive line? I was hearing Wildy, Mark Tauscher, and Brian Balaga talk about the offensive line shakeup. And I told you guys before, I was kind of expecting Anthony Belton to compete at left tackle, right, and keep Jordan Morgan starting at right guard. But they keep talking on the show as if they've heard through the grapevine that Jordan Morgan's going to be competing for left tackle and Anthony Belton's going to be competing at guard. So we'll get to that in a second. But here is the top 5 list. All right. So the Green Bay Packers offensive line is undergoing a significant transformation for the 2025 season with new faces, positional shifts, and high-stakes competitions. After ranking 5th in rushing yards and 3rd in sack percentage of 2024, the line remains a cornerstone of the team's aspirations to contend in the NFC North. Here are the top 5 storylines to watch as the Packers offensive line shapes up for 2025. Number 1, of course, is Elgton Jenkins' move to center, right? 2-time Pro Bowl guard Elgton Jenkins is sliding to center, a move confirmed by general manager Brian Gutekunst in March 2025, following the departure of Josh Myers to the New York Jets. Jenkins, who started at center for Mississippi State in 2017 and 2018, has roughly 400 NFL snaps at the position compared to over 1,700 in college. Gutekunst is optimistic, stating, quote, "We feel he's got a chance to be an all-pro center. The shift aims to leverage Jenkins' athleticism and leadership to enhance the run game for Josh Jacobs, who rushed for 1,307 yards in 2024. However, Jenkins' limited recent experience at center raises questions about his adjustment to pre-snap communication with Jordan Love and handling agile defensive tackles. His success could elevate the line, but any struggles may prompt the Packers to seek alternatives by 2026, especially with his $18 million base salary looming. Of course, we talked about him jumping to a cap hit of $24.8 million in 26. I want to get your all's take. How comfortable would we be with Elgton Jenkins at center, or is there someone else on the roster that you would rather start over Jenkins at center?
I feel real comfortable as long as he wants to be there. Obviously, I think that was the nervousness that we all felt with the initial segment that we did opening up the podcast. Other than the Willie thing, we haven't heard many credible news stories that there is a problem there. But again, it just seems a little bit eerie, him not being there for the voluntary OTAs and that kind of stuff. But I'm not worried about whether or not he can play there. So as far as that aspect, I think that we have our best 5 on that line. And if he is the captain there as that center, I'd feel really great about it. And like you mentioned, it's a interesting battles between the left tackle and the right guard. I think we obviously know what's going to go on at right tackle, hopefully at left guard as well. But you know, we're as we've seen in years past, we're just one injury away from completely reshuffling the deck, so to speak. But I think this year they're trying to solidify a starting 5 that maybe doesn't need to be moved around as much if one guy happens to, you know, unfortunately get injured. I would personally like to think that hopefully they've got a contingency plan, a solid actual backup, and I would hope that it was Jacob Monk if I had to pick. Andy
Monday in the chat says, hopefully EJ moving to a center lengthens his career in Green Bay. That's kind of what you see, right, Emilio? I mean, I know you do that on Madden. You get a guy a little longer in the tooth, throw him over to center, right? Increase that overall.
Once you hit double-digit years, man, I think you got to just work them back inside each year. You just bring them in from tackle, bring them to guard.
So when they hit 30, you take them from tackle to guard, and when they hit 31, you take them from guard to center. When they hit 32,
sometimes you can push 32.
Long snapper.
When they take them to 32, you take them out to the pasture. Take them out like Old Yeller out behind the barn, right?
Yeah, and you know you don't have to worry about that long snapper spot on Madden either, right? Because Elton's also the snapper for that too, so that's perfect. That way you get.
Can I ask you a question about that? Can I ask you a question? When you fire up Madden, do you just immediately, when you start a franchise, you immediately cut Matt Orzech? Get him.
He's got to go. He's not a tight end. He's got to go.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
everybody does that.
I mean, because I'm thinking about cutting him just for the 53 here. I mean, we did it last year, the year before, didn't we? Cut him and pick him up later on. I mean, we can get a snapper. There was a couple of them that made the big board. All right, we can go find one. So I would rather keep, maybe a skill guy if we have to. But Elton at center, yeah, there's really no backup besides Monk. Obviously, my boy Travis can do anything down there, but I really think that Elton's going to be a key cog. If we don't have that, I think we're going to have an issue that we need to address very quickly.
Hey, Greg Rice says, come to PTA for all your Madden hacks from Excelio and Clayton. Jacob's got the ultimate Madden hack. Just put it on rookie, man. You good. You ain't got players around. Is that right, Jacob?
No. I will say, though, Emilio, did you by chance listen to Ryan's 53 man roster. There was
I
a
was
certain
gonna-
player that didn't quite make the cut. Do you?
Oh
Yeah.
no!
What, Jacob? Did you hear how much
No.
that certain player was in Ryan's thoughts and conversation?
Thoughts?
Got a lot of screen time, okay, in Ryan's pod earlier. So a lot of screen time.
You do? Yeah, that sounds like a big old cope, buddy. Smells like you're smoking some copium.
Well, what I'm thinking is Ryan, he processed it. He said the 6th rounder this year got taken and kept on the squad. Maybe we'll just keep the 6th rounder from last year, our boy Travis Glover, and keep him on there. Use up that 4-year. Yeah.
Emilio, if Travis Glover does not make this roster,
He got onto the wrong stuff.
you're probably right. Matter of fact,
Got on to the wrong stuff.
there you go.
Oh my!
If Travis Glover doesn't make the roster, what happens, Clay?
I think you're going to catch some hell, man. I think that's what's going to happen here on
I
this
think so,
particular program.
Emilio riots at dawn. Just paints his face. Glover.
You'll be in here every episode. If he gets cut, what if he gets cut and doesn't get put on the practice squad either? Emilio will be in here like
I'm
this.
flipping a table. Because he's going to get picked up and he's going to go play a good 15 years, and then we're going to be devastated.
That would be hilarious if he goes somewhere else and just all pro, like 10 years in a row. Best
Heard it
tackle.
from a fan right here.
Unbelievable, man.
Oh no!
Glover has no chance. See, everybody's just going to pile on now. We need to get PTA T-shirts made with the PTA logo on the back. It just says Glover is not the guy. That's what we need to do for Emilio.
Farva getting some low blows on Emilio. Says Emilio is the Travis Glover of PTA.
Oh, no.
Whoa.
Hardest working man here, right?
That's
Emilio?
tough.
Hey, what would happen though if Travis Glover just comes into camp, kicks ass, and wins a starting spot? Wouldn't it? Well, Emilio would never shut up.
I'm walking in here like Randy from South Park with my wheelbarrow, and I'm just going to be walking the sidewalk with this thing. That's exactly what's happening.
Most of you guys got that, and you just seen the picture of the wheelbarrow.
I got a 2-wheel wheelbarrow. I'm bringing that thing inside the house.
It's a
for the
Milwaukee,
picture.
isn't it?
No, it's a Tough-X from Canada.
Okay, all
All
right.
right, let's get this back on the tracks here. Coach Lynn says, I think Sean Ryan could get another look, but not to start over Elton Jenkins. That's a great point. Sean Ryan might be the backup center, right? If I remember correctly, wasn't he the one who went in after Elton Jenkins last year? I believe that was the case. Like, there was one particular game where maybe Elton wasn't available. It might have been against Philly, where Elton had gotten hurt already. I can't remember when it was. Everything's such a blur. There was one point in the season, though, where Sean Ryan was maybe warming up on the sideline as center or something, like taking, handling snaps. But
Right.
anyway, that may be the case. Soder says, can any of the other options at center be worse than Josh Myers? I don't mean to pile on Josh Myers, but, man, we called that for 3 years, And, after his rookie year, it was like, okay, maybe we got something there. He kind of graded out kind of high with pass blocking, like in the 60s as a rookie, not bad. And taking the beating he did from Aaron Rodgers, just cussing him out on national television because he wouldn't snap the effing ball. But then year 2, it was like, oh, man, he took a step back. Year 3, worse. It's like, yeah, this is just – by year 4, I was over it, man.
Where did he get signed again?
To the Jets for less than $2 million on a 1-year deal.
Yikes.
And I remember, and here's the crazy thing. Josh Myers is as bad as he played in Green Bay, in my opinion. I still probably wouldn't have been. I would have been okay with bringing him back as a backup center for $3 to $5 million. Like, I would have been like, okay, he knows the offense, he knows the snap count, he knows, you know what I mean. He's worked with Jordan Love. That's a lot of value. And with his size, who knows? Maybe he could kick over to guard. The Packers didn't even see him as worthy of the minimum contract.
Yeah, that's weird.
I think Sean Ryan or honestly Zach Tom would probably be the backup center if we're talking and then you would bring in, that's where you're looking at tackle depth versus guard depth on the remaining players and say, if it really did go down, Elton leaves and you have to bring Zach Tom in, Sean Ryan can't do it or whatever, who's going to tackle over there?
That would be my question to you guys. What if, and again, I hope this doesn't happen. I have no reason to believe it's going to happen this way, but let's assume Elton Jenkins is pissed off and skipping the offseason stuff. And let's say it gets so bad that he leaves. I don't think that'll happen. I think that's like a less than a 1% chance of that happening. If it did happen, though, who would you want to start at center? Because there's really nobody out there on the market now. Everything's done. The smoke's, the dust has settled, so to speak. For me personally, I think it's so important. I would kick Zach Tom to center and then let Jordan Morgan and Anthony Belton fight it out for right tackle. That's what I would do.
I think so too. Because you can always put a tackle on. You can always put a tight end or a back, or you can get a chip. You can help on the outside. Pressure up the middle is a problem.
Yeah. And who knows, man? Anthony Belton, dude. Anthony Belton might end up being a dog, man. Again, what gives me the most hope there is the fact that Goody had a second-round grade on him. I'm sitting here going, boys, when he's drafted linemen in the second round in the past, they have started. Mm-hmm. They've not sat on the bench. So Sean Farva says the depth chart is probably Jenkins, Ryan, Monk. Ryan played there during the preseason. That must have been what I remember, Sean, last year. And if he loses his right guard spot, he would back up the interior. That makes a lot of sense. It makes a whole lot of sense. I think that's a great point there. All right, let's move it along here. Number 2 on this list. We never did get to hour 2, did we? We're just going to break this thing up.
Yeah, just break it up later. Yeah, all right.
My bad, guys. I dropped the ball. Number 2, Aaron Banks' arrival at left guard. The Packers bolstered their interior line by signing former San Francisco 49ers guard Aaron Banks to a 4-year, $77 million contract, making him the 6th highest paid guard in the NFL. When you hear that, you got to take it with a grain of salt. What are you going off of? Are you going off of guaranteed money? I guarantee you that's not it, right? Are you going off of average annual value? Because that really doesn't matter. Or are you going off cap hit? To me, guaranteed money and cap hit's the things that I'm most, worried about, I guess you could say. So I kind of throw that out the window when you hear that mention that he's the 6th highest paid guard in the NFL. At 6'5", 324 pounds, Banks is a dominant run blocker who allowed just 1 sack in 2024 per Pro Football Focus. His signing, reported by ESPN's Rob Demovsky, enabled Jenkins' move to center and signals a commitment to a physical, rush-heavy offense. Banks' size and grit align with Coach LaFleur's scheme, but his pass blocking, while solid, ranked below Jenkins' 2024 performance. Building chemistry with Jenkins and left tackle Rasheed Walker during OTAs will be crucial to maximizing the line's potential against formidable NFC North defenses like the Detroit Lions. So this is another one of those things too. When we seen the signing, we were like, whoa, didn't see that one coming. I think we would all agree we weren't over the moon about the Aaron Banks signing. But Goody being willing to give that money tells you what he thinks about him, right? It kind of aligns with the whole Anthony Belton thing as well. But Jacob, what do you think about the Aaron Banks signing? We don't have to spend a whole lot of time on it. I just feel like it's definitely noteworthy because that's what's caused this shakeup. And if Goody hits on this one, bro, we're good.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie, I wasn't pumped about it. I was very shocked at the number. Again, like always, when you take a look at the actual contract, you realize what it really means and what the actual – that's true. The money was definitely a big shock for me. You guys know me, how cheap I am. But then you look at that size, 6'5", 324. What he did in San Francisco as far as PFF-wise, again, wasn't the best, but – obviously something in him Goody saw that he was worth that money. And it's one puzzle piece on that offensive line that we kind of don't have to worry about. At least that's the goal here. That's knock on wood. That's why you pay a guy that much money, is because you just plug and play that is going to be your left guard. So with that aspect, I'm happy that he's, that he's in that position. So now he's got to prove it.
What do you think, Emilio? Are you still here with us?
Yeah, sorry, I had to go get a refill. Aaron Banks, yeah, I think looking at it after the fact now, I feel bad for Elton because of it, but it was the right thing for the team because we had a hole on our offensive line. What if Aaron Banks comes out and just doesn't even, make a stand? We need him to hold up, he needs to be able to play well. But if Belton takes his spot by week 9, I mean, are we going to be mad at it? Are we going to be excited? I think that you had to be excited that Belton tore up. But I think the process was right in bringing him in to solidify it.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point because on the surface, don't get me wrong, the Goody haters would roast him over a rookie beating out his prized possession in free agency. But I could give a rat's ass, to be honest with you, because the money's the same. The great deal with the rookie contract that Anthony Belton would have if he would be competing at left guard, and I don't think he is. I think this is Aaron Banks' job unless he gets hurt. That's me personally.
Right.
But if he did take it, it ain't no skin off my back. You know what I mean? Like, we're good to go because the money is still the same. You know, you're getting a much cheaper guy as a rookie. Now, like we had pointed out with the contract, see you, Jacob. Appreciate you, buddy. Like we pointed out with the contract, you can get out of that contract after 2 years really, really easy. So it's not like as big as most people are claiming it is in terms of the financial, you know, ramifications of it. It looks like big money on the surface, but when you look at the guaranteed money and the way it's structured, you can basically get out of it in 2 years. So it's not as bad as most people would think. So moving on to the third topic here, and that's our boy. Look at this big fella right here, man. He looked taller than the average human squatted down, dude. Unbelievable.
Seriously.
Right guard battle. And people are going, what are you talking about? Sean Ryan versus Anthony Belton? That's what I said. All right. And someone in the chat earlier actually mentioned about Morgan. We'll talk about that in a minute. I got it marked there, Prince. You mentioned it some time ago, and it's going to apply here in a second. But this has been kind of one of the talking points here, man. Right guard battle, Sean Ryan versus Anthony Belton. It says the right guard position is a battleground between incumbent Sean Ryan and rookie Anthony Belton, a second-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Ryan, a 2022 third-rounder, started all 17 games in 2024, playing 88.8% of the snaps, but ranking 38th among 65 guards in pass blocking efficiency per Pro Football Focus, with 4 sacks and 23 pressures allowed. Belton, a 6'6", 336-pound tackle/guard hybrid from NC State, brings mauling size, prompting Gutekunst to compare him to former Packers guards T.J. Lang and Josh Sitton. While Belton's college experience was at left tackle, his physicality suits the interior. And Packers insider Zach Cruz noted on X that the team sees the offensive line as a priority. Ryan's experience gives him an edge, but Belton's potential could see him push for snaps in training camp, shaping the line's right side. And the reason I mention that is because on Wildy and Tausch, those guys were talking like Goody probably sees him as a right guard or as a guard to compete, you know, and they basically said he's not going to be in a competition with Aaron Banks because they gave Aaron Banks that money, which means if they truly see him as a guard, then, and I think Goody said it at the press conference at the draft. I believe he said something about, he can play both guard positions and both tackle positions. But with Goody specifically mentioning, which we'll talk about here in a second, Jordan Morgan competing for left tackle, that would kind of infer, okay, Jordan Morgan's not going to be playing right guard, and Anthony Belton will be competing with it. So I just wanted to mention that. And here's the other thing too, Amelia. We talk about this all the time. Matt LaFleur is going to say it first day of camp when he's asked about offensive line. We're going to get the best 5 on the field, right? And that may shake up, you know, different than what any of these different scenarios we got listed here. But what do you think about that? Do you think that's a legit right guard battle, or do you think Anthony Belton will stay at left tackle? What do you think?
Yeah, I think like I was saying earlier, I think the right guard is going to be easier for him to transition to in the short term, like currently. Get your head around the playbook, figure out what you need to do, what ones you're pulling on, which ones you're setting on, 3-step, 5-step, kickouts, be ready for your twist stunts, all that. I'd honestly rather have him inside. I'm glad Morgan got a chance there and bring him inside, play right guard. If you win that position, perfect. It would be like who was the Jets guy that they drafted and then the Eagles put him in at guard, so you can take a huge tackle, bring him in, play guard, and be good to go. A little bit easier transition. I'd much rather have Jordan Morgan go out there on the edge and fight for tackle.
Yeah, Eric Sutherland says Glover going to beat both of them out for right guard, right, Emilio?
That's a possibility. See, they shouldn't have put him at left guard against Philly. Should have put him over there on the right side. He would have been fine.
Are you telling me?
No, I'm kidding.
That Matt LaFleur miscalculated where Travis Glover should have played against the Eagles? Emilio, that looked bad.
No, but they went to him. They went to him first after everything else. Then Kadeem Telford got a shot.
And Kadeem Telford got his ass kicked too. Like they both were putting turnstiles, wasn't they? It was like that Philly front is no joke, man. And I think it has a lot to do, and this is what Tauscher was talking about earlier. He thinks that Goody seen that firsthand. Is like, all right, Philly's playing bully ball. Let's play some bully ball. Let's get a little bigger on the offensive line because don't get me wrong, we've had big offensive line. Blue was a big offensive lineman, right? We've had big boys up front, but this is a little bit different. Most of those guys were 315 and under, according to Balaga. You're talking about a guy that's over 330 pounds.
Yeah, this is the list that I had earlier in the year that we referenced. Left tackle 6'6", 325. Left guard 6'5", 325. Center 6'5", 310. right guard 6'5", 310, right tackle 6'4", 305. So that was prior. That was with Josh Myers at center.
Yeah.
So, you're looking at your center at 310, your right guard at 310, probably around 300, 300 pounds. You're adding. I mean, you brought in 50 pounds of weight just to put on the line, basically. I mean, that puts you probably over 1,600 pounds total. That is a wall right there to protect Jordan Love and degrade for Josh Jacobs.
Yeah. MG Toe Legion says, can you imagine what it would be like if you were a cornerback and and a pulling guard headed right towards you? Could you imagine Belton running full sprint at you, bro?
And now they can't cut him anymore. Now you have to take on the block. Oof.
Yeah, good luck with that. Sure. Ron Sample says, Atham sips water at the water fountains and Japanese bathrooms. There you go. All right. Appreciate that. Important information. Up next, here we go. This is another one that kind of caught me off guard a little bit. Left tackle competition. Rasheed Walker versus Jordan Morgan. All right. Says the left tackle spot pits Rasheed Walker, a 2022 7th-round pick, against 2024 first-rounder Jordan Morgan in a high-stakes competition. Walker started all 17 games in 2024, allowing 3 sacks and over 500 pass blocking snaps. That's a hell of a stat, man. Like, seriously, 3 sacks and over 500 pass blocking snaps.
Yeah.
Ranking among the top tackles league-wide. However, Goody emphasized Morgan's potential, saying, quote, he'll certainly get a shot at left tackle, where he started 34 games at Arizona. Morgan's rookie season was limited to 6 games due to a shoulder injury, with 120 snaps at right guard and 65 at left guard. His versatility allows him to challenge at both tackle and guard, but the Packers view him as a long-term tackle. Walker's contract year adds urgency, as a strong 2025 could secure his future, while Morgan's development may dictate the team's 2026 plan. So really what you're talking about here, Emilio, is let's say he is in a competition at left tackle. Let's say they put them all 3 in there. Anthony Belton, Jordan Morgan, and Rasheed Walker. I think Rasheed Walker wins that battle, personally. If that happens, now the position battle comes back to right guard, where it's going to be Anthony Belton, Sean Ryan, and Jordan Morgan. I hope Jordan Morgan wins that over Anthony Belton to validate that first-round pick they used on him. If Belton beats him out, no matter what the situation is, I think it does scream that Rasheed Walker, unless he's willing to take a team-friendly contract extension, which I don't expect anybody to do, because you see 3 sacks and 500 pass blocking snaps, he's going to get paid some money in free agency. I think Goody is preparing this offensive line, and this is a part of the major transition they're making. It's just happening a year. It's going to happen next year, and we're seeing it already kind of come to fruition, right? Absolutely. So if he tries to break the bank, then one of 2 things could happen. They could hit him with the franchise tag, him being Rasheed Walker, and then trade him to get draft capital, or they could just let him walk in free agency and get that comp pick 1 year later. You know what I mean? So what do you think about that, though, at left tackle? Do you think that's a legit – do you think there's a shot that Rasheed Walker and Jordan Morgan are going to be battling it out at left tackle?
I think so. You're going to want to bring in competition to preseason. You're going to want to make sure that Rasheed Walker, if he is going to start, is ready to start and know that he's got a flame on his heels, right? You got Jordan Morgan ready to take your spot. He could be, he could be so close to being able to get to that starting role, Jordan Morgan, that be. And if Rasheed Walker messes up, he has 2 games that are bad, gives up 3 sacks in 2 games, he might get pulled and it might be over from there. But I think that if we're looking, like Goody is long-term, maybe you do kind of want Rasheed to win it. If you think Jordan Morgan can still handle it, maybe by week 7, you're saying, all right, we can move him. A tackle got hurt somewhere else. Someone's willing to give us a 2nd-round pick, 3rd-round pick, 2/3, and whatever it is. And you go, well, I drafted him with the 7th round, played him on a rookie contract, and now I've, gained 5 rounds from that choice. And you take your win at that point. I think that he, really it was kind of like a future draft after looking at it. It's him planning for the future on, D-line, offensive line, and giving you more options in the future, not getting, bound up.
Yeah. Greg Rice says playing chess, not checkers. It is, man. It's just like you said, Amelia, you're preparing for the future. That's why you always go best player available. He caught hell for taking Jordan Morgan last year, right? It's probably going to end up paying off.
Clay.
It's going to pay off because you're going to look up and be like, okay, if Rasheed Walker walks in free agency, you're not stressing it.
Right. And that's it. You don't want to have to stress if you can. And luckily they kind of fell this way where we were able to take two, highly talented guys at the line position, and hopefully they both work out. Speaking of best player available, let me ask you this. If Christian Watson wasn't going to start on PUP, do we take Savion in the third?
Ooh, I'll raise you one better.
Oh, here we go.
If Christian Watson wasn't going to start on PUP, do you take Matthew Golden in the first?
Ooh.
You probably don't, man. You probably don't.
Because that's a whole spot. You're all right. I'm accounting for him not being there so that we can have somebody else.
Yeah, Eric Sutherland says no. I'm with you. I don't think. Now, here's the thing. I think it might be no to Matthew Golden, but the Savion Williams is more likely because the value is so great there. Right?
That's
they had
true.
a second. If you read between the lines of what Goody said in the presser, if he's telling the truth, and look, I'm not going to dog him if he's not telling the truth. You don't want to give away your secrets, but he made it sound like at pick 54, and I think it was Wildy that asked the question. At pick 54, Savion Williams was in play, right? And then they went Anthony Belton. And then in round 3, if he was in play at pick 54, that means they had a second-round grade on him.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't have said he was in play if he'd had a third-round grade on him, right? So if you had a second-round grade on him and you end up getting him in the third, I think it's more likely you draft Savion Williams in the third round than Matthew Golden in the first if Christian Watson isn't starting on PUP. I know this. I'm glad we got them both because I think there's an opportunity there for us to get.
That's where I was kind of I thought of that earlier. I meant to ask you, and I was just thinking, light at the end of the tunnel. I think it was a good thing that it happened. There must have been a reason why. It sucked that we lost Christian against the Bears in a game that didn't matter. All those things, but maybe there was an opening on the other side that led us to, hey, we have two talented wide receivers coming in that really is going to spark this offense. Because where did we kind of struggle late in the season last year? It was. Our defense was cranking. It was really more on our offense, puttering out.
And we talked about this. I don't mean to toot our own horn, but as soon as the smoke settled from that ass kicking against Philly, I keep saying that, but to be honest with you, we played Philly better than anyone else in the playoffs. That's the reality. What they did to the Chiefs, they thumped that head, But if you looked at that game, when it was over, what did we talk about? Guys, we got beat because of the offensive line. That's what happened. We got beat up front is what happened. Jordan Love turned the ball over 3 times, and we got beat up front. One of those turnovers, I gave him a pass because it's you're not able to get anything going because they're just beating your offensive line up front every play. Let's chuck one deep, and Tay Wicks didn't. If I remember correctly, it was Tay Wicks didn't adjust to the ball in time, and the corner made a great play on it. I understand Jordan in that situation going, boys, we got to take a shot sooner or later. My God, we're not moving the ball. So with that being said, that's what we seen, and it is funny. And I don't mean to be like this, but it's aggravating when you hear the sports media at the end of the year trying to pretend like it was the pass rush was the reason that we, the Packers didn't go all the way. And we're sitting there looking at it going, boys, if you actually watch the tape, it's the offensive line that gave in.
Because it's not like we didn't talk about wanting a 3-tech and needing a 3-tech of the future. Kenny's on his way out. We were planning for that. The issue was that, the wall cracked. It was like a siege, and the wall was over. Once the hole was opened up, they just started pouring through. There wasn't anything that we could do to save it, even if you have a lot of horizontal speed on offense, a lot of vertical speed on offense. If you can't get the ball and take 3 steps back, it's over.
Yeah, and that's the other thing for me is, I don't know, it's just when you look at that offensive line, how it happened, no one was talking about that. We talked about it on the postgame show, and it was just like, man, here was the real issue. And now all of a sudden everybody's going, well, if you really focus on what happened in the Philly game, it's because the offensive line. I'm going, no crap, Sherlock. That you could see it, but everybody was just so caught up and infatuated with we ain't got a pass rush, and we end up finishing the year 8th in sacks. It's the whole year I'm going, boys, it's how we're rushing the quarterback. We're stopping the run is what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could see it all over the tape if you'll take time to watch the tape. But everybody just wanted to see one or two clips that's shared of Rashawn Gary not rushing the quarterback past the tight end and going, see, he's washed. It's like, how do you finish 8th in sacks and that dude led your team in sacks, but he's the one that's washed? What are we even talking about here? And he led all edge defenders and run stops. Like it just, I don't know. I don't mean to go on that. It just bothers me when people act like they know more than they do. I'll tell you, I don't know a hill. I don't know a hill of beans. I'm learning every day. But you're not going to see me get up here and go, hey, let me tell you guys what the problem is. Let me tell you what's going on, right? Like we're all trying to figure it out together. And then you talk down to fans as if they don't understand what's happening. It's frustrating, man. It really is. So, All right. Last thing here, number 5, Zach Tom's impending contract extension. Right tackle Zach Tom, a 2022 fourth-round pick, is poised for a significant contract extension as he enters the final year of his rookie deal. Regarded as the Packers' best lineman, Tom finished 3rd in All-Pro voting amongst right tackles in 2024 and has played all 5 offensive line positions. Mike Spofford of Packers.com wrote, quote, I believe the Packers aren't letting Zach Tom go anywhere, projecting a deal that could exceed $20 million annually, aligning with top right tackles. Tom's elite pass blocking and versatility are vital for protecting Jordan Love's blind side, it says, meant front side, of course. However, his extension will strain the 2026 cap alongside Jenkins' $24.8 million cap hit, which I think that'll be lowered personally, and potential deals for Walker or Ryan. Securing Tom long-term could anchor the line, but it will force tough financial decisions. This whole Zach Tom contract here, Emilio, is why we're saying there's no way you can bring back Rasheed Walker for more than $15 million per. You just can't.
Right. No, it's exactly it, because the fact that the tackle is going to get paid. We were looking at the contracts last night. Obviously, he's doing really well, keeping the percentage of each, wide receiver room, D-line room. All those numbers are down so that you have the option to pay these players that are going to get, 5%, 10% of the cap. The issue is, you can't pay everybody at once. It can't be all in 1 year. Rasheed coming right up. I think that's why you go, hey, we know that we have to pay Zach Tom by next year, right? He's got to get paid. So he has this year to play it out. And we have to get it paid before the end of next year. So he's going to be paid. He's going to be handsomely paid and well-deserved. I think you figure it out. Maybe you pay your right tackle, your center, and then figure out who gets that third contract. I think you can handle 3 decent contracts on the line without it getting too out of hand contract-wise.
I agree. So you're going to pay Zach Tom. Elton Jenkins already getting paid. However, you're going to look to lower that cap number, I would imagine.
And maybe possibly extend him, possibly move him out for a couple more years just to work it a little.
Extend him, slap on 2 voidable years, give him a little bit more guaranteed money, lower the cap even more. You can make that work. So to be Zach Tom, Elton Jenkins, and Aaron Banks. Aaron Banks, remember what I said, for at least 2 years, right? Well, let's say Aaron Banks, that whole experiment just falls flat on his face. Well, in 2 years, he's off the cap. Elton Jenkins will probably be off the cap because you'll probably move on from him, right? So you'll have Zach Tom. You'll know what you got in Jordan Morgan, and you should know what you got in Anthony Belton as well. Those are probably the next 3 that are going to get paid. Zach Tom slides into the Elton Jenkins spot of kind of the older guy, right? And you want to extend him if he turns out to be, I don't want to say generational, but one of those third contract worthy players like Bakhtiari was. Right. You extend him again. You got your other 2 guys under contract, and guess what you're doing? You're drafting 2 to 4 more, right? And within that 2-year window, and just keeping that rotation going. I think that's truly what they're doing here.
Yeah.
So, and I like Rasheed Walker. I don't want people to take this the wrong way. I would love to have him as the left tackle for the Packers for the next 5 years. I just don't like it to the tune of $20 million per, because he is a great pass blocker, and that's the most valuable aspect of being a tackle in the NFL. The problem is that run blocking, and it's not horrible, but it's just, if you're going to pay somebody over $20 million, they better be able to do both like Zach Tom.
Would you be more willing, say Jordan Morgan does decent, would you be more willing to hit his 5th-year option rather than, like sign Rasheed Walker to a long-term deal?
So you tell me I have to choose between Rasheed Walker long-term deal or Jordan Morgan's 5th-year option?
Right. Just to get you, just to carry yourself over. Like, which one would you maybe rather chase down?
I mean, as it sits right now, if I'm being 100% honest,
Rashid.
I would choose Rashid.
Yeah.
But again, if he's going to go out there and ask for, and I keep saying over 20 million, the reality is left tackles are getting paid over 30 million.
Yeah, right.
So that's where it's just like, man, me no can do that. Ain't gonna happen. So that's the reality of having good offensive line play, right? And again, people are going, but we lost to Philly because of the offensive line, because of the depth, right? You were one injury away from that whole thing falling apart. I feel like they were holding up somewhat. And when Elton went down, my God, the wheels they came off. And look, we make jokes about Travis Glover all the time, but there's not many backup offensive linemen that you're going to be able to throw in that left guard spot against that Philly front in the biggest game of the season and go, all right, go do your job. It ain't going to happen.
Right.
They're the best of the best.
And that's the first time we've seen Glover at guard. So, like, they brought him in from tag. I mean, he probably obviously practiced it, but they were like, hey, no, Glover, it's your time to shine, man.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
All right. Again, so the and here is just a quick little look at the contract. Let me read the big picture here, okay? The Packers' offensive line is a mix of proven talent, new additions, and emerging competitors, all critical to supporting Jordan Love in a run-heavy offense. Jenkins' transition, Banks' integration, and the battles at right guard and left tackle will determine the unit's cohesion, while Tom's extension looms as a financial cornerstone. As training camp approaches, these storylines will define whether the Packers can maintain their 2024 dominance up front and push for a Super Bowl in 2025. So when you look at the contracts, that's what you're essentially looking at. And again, I know it's kind of hard to see, but you got Elton Jenkins under contract through 2026. He'll be an unrestricted free agent in 2027. Aaron Banks is under contract. It is a 4-year deal. You'll notice the cap hit is only $9 million this year. It blimps to 24.8 next year. And again, when you get to 2027, it's far less dead cap than it is, the cap hit itself. So you could get out of it if you need to in 2027. You'll probably bring that number down to 24.8 next year, I would imagine as well. Zach Tom at $3.5 million. Is there a better deal in the NFL? I mean, my goodness. And you're going to listen, his contract, it'll probably get done before the end of training camp, I would imagine. And I'm going to say something that's probably going to tick some fans off, but this is how I truly feel about the Zach Tom contract situation. If I'm his agent and I'm Zach Tom, I'm handling that contract extension negotiation exactly how Jordan Love handled it. I'm not going out there on the practice field, right, until the new deal's done, but I'm going to be doing everything else that I can for the coaching staff, for the front office. Behind the scenes, we found out Jordan Love was throwing after practice when the cameras left, right? And when there's not a bunch of bodies around him. So hopefully he approaches it that way as opposed to just holding out. But I cannot fault Zach Tom for risking everything and going out there in training camp without a new deal. Now is the time to pay Zach Tom. He's been grossly underpaid the entire time, and that's kudos to Goody for making a great draft pick late in the draft. But it's time to pay the money. And I don't want to hear any slander of Zach Tom's name if you hear hold out, hold in, or anything like that. You know what I mean, Emilio? Because it's he's done his part. It's time to pay that man his money.
Yeah. No, he absolutely has. And that's where you say, hey, like you said, come in there like Jordan Love, carry yourself well, do everything you can, but you deserve that money. You work for it, get paid, and then move on, show up and then work hard, right? That's all we're asking from you. But yeah, I 100% think that, Zach Tom needs to get that money so that he can walk in there like Jordan Love did after the fact of, hey, I've put in 3-4 years of work. I'm here for this team. I'm here for to be a hard worker, lunch pail guy. I'm going to show you it after I get this money. I'm going to show you how I do and how I'm going to continue to do that for this team.
Yeah.
What Coach about Lynn. This? Oh, my bad. You had one for Coach Lynn.
Let me hit it real quick. Yeah, Coach Lynn says that's exactly what he should do, meaning, get your money, right?
Yeah.
Chris Casualian says exactly. Coach Lynn also says, and we developed him, but he put in the work, no doubt about it.
That should be rewarding to the Packers. Like, all right, we drafted him, developed him, he gets paid. Love that.
That's what I love about our viewers, our listeners, too. Like Adam Block. Tom can hold whatever he wants. Amen, right? Because he's done everything the right way. Go ahead with the one you want to hit, man.
Just H.E. Soder just asking a crazy question. Crazy talk here. Keep Walker and let Tom walk.
Man, to quote the great Ricky Bobby, I'm too drunk to taste that chicken. So it is fascinating. That's a fascinating comment. I don't know if he's joking or not, right? But What if that is what Goody did? Of course, that's what we would be.
That would be something that Goody would do. We've talked about. Is Zach Tom going to get that
and it would
money?
work too. It would
Right.
work somehow, right?
And Zach Tom's in a trade package for 2 firsts somehow, and it's like, Goody, what are we doing?
Zach Tom would go somewhere else, get paid $30-some million per year, and be a horrible player in that scheme. And Rasheed Walker go on to be the next Bakhtiari healthy.
Right.
That's what would happen. But yeah, J. Cole, don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Well, yeah.
Love it. All right, so the other contracts, just real quick, and we'll wrap this big bear up here. Rasheed Walker, contract year, we talked about it. He's only 3.4 against the cap this year. He's unrestricted. Jordan Morgan, 3.2 this year, 3.8 next year, 4.5 next year, or the year after that. 2028 says to be determined. That's the 5th-year option year, right? So the only reason that makes that okay. Sean Ryan, $1.6 million, then he'll be unrestricted. Trey Hill, 1.1 unrestricted. Jacob Monk, we've got him for 3 more years. Barely over $1 million in all 3 years. Travis Glover, money well spent, right, Emilio?
Absolutely.
1 million, 1.1 million, 1.2 million. And this is what I'm talking about. When you see Philly's front put him in a turnstile, he's getting paid. He got paid less than $1 million last year. Get off his back, right? Like, what do you expect from a player that's, that young and that, that level of contract? Kadeem Telford is $960K this year. However, he is an exclusive rights free agent, so you can get him back if you want him, right? John Williams, the new rookie. We haven't even talked about him. Hopefully he can fit in and earn the roster spot, right? He's under $1 million this year, then jumps to $1 million, 1.1, then 1.2. Brant Banks, don't even know who that is, but he's on somewhat of a futures deal. Looks like Tyler Cooper, same thing. We got basically 4 years of rights on both of those guys. Marquise Hayes, 1 year, then an exclusive rights free agent. Donovan Jennings, 1 year exclusive rights free agent. And then JJ Lipe is 3 year, really 4 years of rights for him, with the 4th being a restricted free agency. So that is your offensive line room as it sits right now. So anything else you want to add to that, Emilio?
No, it's a full offensive line room. I think that we're probably going in with 10 or 11, and I think they're just going to want to keep it that way. And I think there's going to be, if they rotated Jordan Morgan like that last year, Belton is probably going to get rotational snaps at right guard, even if Sean Ryan does win it. And I do think that they're just going to want as many live in-season reps as you can get them without causing too much problem to the offense, or, get reps to anyone, obviously, but to Belton, make sure that line's solidified. I think that they'd be trying to run that down.
Yeah, definitely. All right. That's it, man. I think we got everything on the list other than the Micah Robinson scouting report. So we'll hit that tomorrow. We'll jump into that. That'd be a lot of fun. We still got the Baron Sorrell Chalk Talk teed up, and we're going to hit those guys. Please don't. I haven't forgotten about them. It's just when you get stuff like that emerged today with the whole Elton Jenkins thing, is he actually missing? We got offensive line talk. We're going to we want to give you guys the highest quality content we can during the off season, and not just go through, hit everything at once, and us be sitting over here talking about Mount Rushmores of Chicago-style pizza. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
So
speaking of Chicago-style pizza, what do you think of the Cowboys getting their boy Pickens?
So you saying it's just a thick, sloppy mess down there? Is that what you're saying?
Just trying to transition.
To me, I think he fits in with Dallas. I think he's going to be one of those guys that it's either going to work or they're going to run his ass out of town like they did to Yo. Pickens had a lot of baggage coming into the league, right? But at the end of the day, did he cause a big uproar in Pittsburgh? I don't think he did he?
No. I was listening to the PFF pod. I'm pretty sure it was top 3. I believe it was wide receivers, offensive guys that have penalties against them. Guess who number 1 was?
Who?
DK Metcalf.
I believe it.
So he leaves Seattle, goes to Steelers for the number 1, right? Who's number 2? Guess that.
Was it Pickens?
It was CeeDee Lamb was number 2. No. And number 3, your boy George Pickens. So the Cowboys. Since 22, the most offensive penalties from a wide receiver has been Metcalf, CeeDee Lamb, and Pickens in that order. And the Cowboys went ahead and just grabbed another one, bring him over. But
second and third most penalized.
yeah,
Right?
but to that point, the Cowboys needed a vertical threat that can go up and get a ball. George Pickens can do that. The Cowboys really did not have a second or third receiver beyond CeeDee Lamb. They had Gallup, they have Turpin, they have all these guys, but it's not the same. It's not the same threat. Like if you're a defense scheming up, all right, let's double CD. Let's bracket him. Let's roll the coverage, do all that. Now with somebody that can actually threaten that. I really do think that's going to help him. And then the only other talk was just like who won the deal. And it's probably a toss up right now. I do think that the Cowboys probably wanted a little bit more, but the Steelers get, the higher picks and all of that.
That's really, really interesting, man.
And the other issue is the Cowboys have to pay Pickens after this year if it doesn't work. He only has 1 year left on the contract.
Right. And it kind of makes you wonder, did they work? There's not been reports that they've worked out a deal before the trade, right?
So, yeah, it's like a Hassan Reddick type thing.
Got it. One for, he play it out. And that's a good point, too. You bring out Hassan Reddick. What if it ended up that way? What if he's expecting to get a deal, nothing gets done, and then he ends up being an absolute menace,
Yeah.
Okay, so they are getting Dak back, though, right? So,
yes.
CeeDee Lamb's a good wide receiver.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's elite. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that if George Pickens keeps his nose clean down there and he creates that chemistry with Dak, I think that could be a good pickup. Because if I remember correctly, and you probably just said it as I was reading the chat, they gave up a third but got a fifth back or something like that.
Yeah, they gave up a third and a fifth and got a sixth back.
Got it.
Is what I believe how it went. But yeah, either way, I mean, you think about the Steelers. Okay, yeah, we're trying to stock up picks. Maybe Rodgers didn't want to go if Pickens was there. Maybe he said I can only handle DK or whatever. But you look at it, the grand scheme of things. DK came over. They paid DK buku bucks, and George Pickens was sitting there waiting for his next contract. Where's he going to go? Most likely off the team after a wide receiver just came in and got that money.
Right. Good point, man. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. I love the NFL. It's king. There's going to be so many storylines. I mean, you see all the storylines we've got in Green Bay. And, I mean, with camp breaks, I haven't been this excited for a training camp in a long time.
Yeah.
There are going to be so many camp battles, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if Elton Jenkins, hopefully, like I said, nothing's wrong there and he's good to go and he's going to come in and play center and everything's going to be fine. If that's the case, man, oh, man. I'm really liking what we did on offensive line, especially if Jordan Morgan takes a step or Anthony Belton is the real deal. I like what you got in Matthew Golden. I think he's got the potential to be a superstar. The thing that gives me the most hope about Matthew Golden is his ball tracking ability. Mm-hmm. That's not easy to do. Some receivers make it look easy. He made it look easy in college. We'll see if he can do that at the pros. But he has not had a quarterback like Jordan Love that could throw a ball 70 yards. He just has not had it. And I cannot wait to watch Jordan uncork the first one to Matthew Golden and him run underneath that thing. That way we can finally put to bed the whole, is he a 4.29? Is he a 4.35? Mm-hmm. Is he a 4.4? Whatever. I'm more interested in his route running ability. Ryan did a great job breaking that down on his pod, talking about his route running ability. And the big thing for me, first and foremost, with Matthew Golden is just, like I said, his ability to track the ball, timing on high point in the ball, all that stuff. He's a hands catcher. You hardly ever see him catch with his body. Yeah, it's just so fitting that in the green and gold, going to be a superstar named Golden. I think he's going to be great. And Savion's just going to come out here and peel some caps. I think that's going to happen. I think he's going to put some people on their ass. I'm excited.
I can't wait. I mean, he is the first dude I'm going to upgrade in Madden. I'm sending all my points right to him. Once I get 6'4", 220, I'm going to make him just 95 speed and just running over people.
Oh, my God. Get that trucking ability about 90. Right. You don't want to cheese it and put it to 99. We'll put it
No. I don't want him bouncing off every tackle.
All right, guys. We appreciate y'all hanging out. The chat was on fire tonight. If you guys would hit that like button before we get out of here. As always, the best way to support what we do here at Packers Total Access is join our Patreon community for $3. You get access to everything on the site. All the write-ups we covered tonight. You can access them. The stuff that we got coming up on shows, you've got early access to it. You get the chalk talks, all that good stuff. Just scan the QR code in the upper right or go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. You'll see multiple tiers. If you want to be generous, you can get one of the higher tiers. That's cool. but that minimum $3 gets you everything. You're good to go. We'll have some giveaways coming up. I think next Saturday will be our next giveaway. I got to send all this stuff out. I got 3 more things to ship out, and we got some jerseys that are going to be going out. And we're going to be doing, like I said, a charity here real soon that I'm going to get behind and see if we can raise some money for a good cause. I'll be unveiling that here real soon. I got to get started on that this weekend. So
yes, definitely
helping some people that are dealing with stuff way tougher than anything I've ever had to deal with in my life. And anytime we get an opportunity as a group, I want people to look at the PTA crew, not me and Emilio, not Jacob, not Tim, us as a whole, all of us, the chat, everybody, like, man, those guys over at Packers Total Access, their listeners, their viewers, they really care about people. So I'm excited about making a little difference in this crazy world, So
absolutely.
Anyway, everybody have a great night. Hit that like button. We will see you guys and gals tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. And go Pack.
And we go.
Bye, guys.